So because of this faithfulness and corruption, which is the major challenge, corruption, money. They know them. They know their treasurers. But anyone who come up to make sure that he stands faithful, we go for it. Okay, recently we had that the terrorist that was captured, chased and captured in Jaffa here. They said the police officer, the man offered him millions. The man said, no, you will not accept. It's all gone on news. We had it. I think the government, for such a police officer, to be called upon and be promoted instantly, but nothing is here. Look at what the way you lament on those issues when somebody wants to stand faithfully to defend his country. That is why sometimes when we talk about development countries like America, a terrorist is a terrorist. They can trace a terrorist to bring an end to the conflict. Okay, when we say, okay, we can't handle this case, let's go for external support. People will come, it is the same Nigerians that will discourage them to tell us that there are many cats hidden under the carpet that have not yet been exposed. Until we have that faithful person, a man of integrity, who is ready to sacrifice his life, that's what sacrifice his life for this nation. This nation will continue. So should we say that people who advocate and say this country can never be fixed, we stand on that. Then number two, with what is going on the ground, do we advocate and stand for jungle justice on any corporate or anyone being caught? Because by the time you caught this person red-handed, this is the security net, before you know it will be released into the society. Do we encourage jungle justice? Thank you, Yana.
Thank you very much. I don't think that we should encourage jungle justice. It wouldn't be the way to go. No one should take laws into their hands. Allow those whose responsibility it is to, but I mean, again, I understand where you're coming from, especially when those who should be responsible for the laws, both interpreting the laws and or find it a business venture where the highest bidder gets what is termed justice or injustice now, as the case may be. Join the conversation 09073530044 and 09087668888. Send me SMS and WhatsApp messages on 09097054450.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning, Comrade Haruna. Good to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning to your guest over there.
Goody.
Good morning to you too.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, please.
Let me start by applauding Amoteku for rescuing those puppy from the hand of murderers. The question I want to ask, that video have gone viral. I believe you've seen it, Mr. Henacho. By seeing that gory video, those guys, by looking at them, they look destituted. Those guys look poor. So it means that the millions they are calling for all, which I believe this is not the first kidnapping they fund themselves. Where are those money going to? Who are the people benefiting from this money? I want to ask, in 21st century, with all the money Nigerian were rich, we are blessed, our security architecture is not a basic science for them or a rocket science for them to find a chip and put it in a ransom money given to these kidnappers so that they can trace, then you can put chips in it. You can track it. See, we know the truth, but we don't want to tell ourselves the truth because they recruit another people again. So it's a vicious cycle that keeps on occurring.
and we are still fighting insecurity. The truth of the matter, Mr. President, you need to wake up and secure Nigerian from
who speaks the truth to the people. You're left confused. Most communications people, PROs and the likes, and people who speak on behalf of governments and its agencies find the most effective strategy for them to be denial. Sometimes it's not always the best, the psychological operations. Now, there is a confusion as to whether ransom was paid for the Faith Apostolic School pupils in Ekiti. While the family and the school are saying, we paid with the 50 million naira ransom, fried rice and cigarettes were also part of the ransom. The police, said that a team of police and other security agencies, including Amotekun, rescued these children. Again, whether they were rescued or whether ransom was paid, the kidnap shouldn't have happened in the first place. If someone was doing their job, these kids wouldn't have been abducted. So it's a failure. Let's acknowledge that there was a failure somewhere, and then tackle it and ensure that it never happens again. But what we see is, after this scenario, after this situation, we wait for another one to happen, and then we begin to talk about it again. There are students in Zamfara, there are core members who are still held in captivity. There are several hundreds of Nigerians who are held in different parts of the country. Some of them may have even lost their lives and to these terrorists. But again, we keep waiting for situations like this to happen before we say, oh, it didn't happen, or we rescued them, or we're going to apprehend the perpetrators, we're going to bring the perpetrators to book. Why not be proactive and forestall it, prevent it from happening? They say prevention is better than cure. Why do we have to allow these things happen before we say, well, arresting somebody or abducted is not a joke? These kids would probably be left to reunite with their families without proper, what do you call it now, psych evaluation, without proper debriefing. I mean, the highest they do is they debrief anyway in their lives. There's need for psychosocial support. There's need for It would be sad to see that children like this are just left to go back and asked to continue to go to school, and maybe even driving the same bus to school. It would really be traumatizing for them. And I hope that someone is seeing this and is taking the right steps towards the recovery for these kids.
Well, in view of what you've said, there is an aspect that be seen, and that aspect is the fact that should this continue, there is a projection that within a period of years, a substantial and working labor force would have been, one person from one family would have been intertwined or engaged, or would have encountered this unhealthy situation or terrorism situation in the country. And have we ever wondered the psyche of what that generation would be? Because it seems as though somebody said that we know what to do, but we are not doing it. If you also recall that in the case of the Boko Haram, when Boko Haram was very hot, and it seemed as though the kidnapping was just a sidekick. The military from outside the country had come, and they said they noticed that the security agencies have been highly compromised, even though a Nigerian security agency or the army, the military, came out very quickly and swiftly to saying that that's not the truth and all of that, and that they will not take all of that. But then they came in the left. They said it's that we are our own problems, that we know what's going on, so it is us. We should deal with it. So it's really sad. It's sad. The issue of whether the ransoms were paid or ransom was not paid and all of that, to even hear
The citizens of
to
a
even
country
hear
are
that the citizens of a country that is supposed to protect a country the citizens that should be protected, citizens that should be looked after, are paying through their nose or are going through a psychological experience.
what's sad is the fact that criminals would look at the most vulnerable category or group of people. Children. If it's come to this point, look, you can say that if it happens to you, you're probably going to be able to run away and all, or you can actually tell people, don't pay ransom for me. Like I would always say, if anything ever happens like this to me, no one should pay a cover, no one should pay a dime. But as a parent, would you watch your kid be abducted? And it seems like that's why these people have turned to targeting children. And security agents must be on their toes. It is not for vigilantes to go and protect schools. That's not their responsibility. That's not their job. They don't even have the equipment to protect schools and protect the children. And they don't. That's not what you are supposed to do. That's why you're commissioned. That's why you're. These agencies in the first place were created to protect lives and property. Why are you going to say you want to train people to do your job, train a different set of people to do your job? And if the police as we know it, as a federal police, cannot protect lives and properties, then let's quickly decentralize. Let's have state police. Let the state governors be responsible for their police, because what we have now is a situation where the governor says, I don't have control over the CP, the commissioner of police in my state. It takes orders from above, right? But if we have a police officer that directly answers to the governor, I think it's going to do us a lot more good. Okay, have a police officer, a commissioner in every state. The states, if you find that other states are doing better than you, there's need for healthy competition. All right, which is why I'm also an advocate of true federalism, where powers are devolved the states. If one state governor is doing better, the others would begin to want to look in that direction to also do better. There's no states that cannot sustain itself. There's no states ways to generate revenue in their states. All right, we're going to be taking more calls now. 090-7353-0044 and 090-8766-8888. Send SMS and WhatsApp messages to 090-9705-4450. Well,
as much as we are very, quick to saying that, the governors are the chief executives of their states, we don't see that happen in reality. I keep saying it. I don't think that governors are the chief executives of their states. I feel that they are just, if they were in control, I wouldn't think that any governor would sit back and watch how, things are brought to disarray in a state. I don't think that. I do not think. But if they were, since they are not in charge, there is a high dependency on the central.
Edward, do you think that the state governors are not in charge? In terms of, I would say this. Okay. So these same people who say, I don't have control over the commissioner of police in my state, they give orders to the commissioner of police when it's election time, when it's election period. The commissioners somewhat become their friends when these things. But when it comes to insecurity, they have an excuse, because they can say, I'm not really the chief security officer of the state, because I do not control the army, I do not control the police, I do not control. Just a few days ago, the chief of defense staff was saying that the governors want to take charge and be in control of the army and all of that they can take administrative control but not operational control, right? So if the governor cannot give operational control to orders to the army, police and all of that in his state, then he's really not the chief security officer, because the constitution made it so. Okay, he is called the chief security officer, but cannot really do certain things because the guys up there are loyal only to the people up.
Haven't we seen governors, who have come out to the media to crying out loudly and saying that they don't have powers over the insecurity situation in the state?
But again, these same governors collect security votes. Why do you collect security votes if these same governors would not have local government elections in their states? These governors are emperors in their states. They determine what goes on in their states. But when it comes to security, we just say, oh, they're not the chief security officer, they have no control. How is it that they have no control but they can mining activities are going on in their states? They know the people who do these things but can't say anything about it. There's insecurity in their states, they turn the other way. But when it comes to money, how much the state gets, if the state does not get its allocation for the month, they cry out the state hasn't got an allocation. But when they get the allocations, no one knows what they do with the allocations.
Let's call a spade and not call it an overgrown spoon. You can still join the conversation right there. The numbers are still open for you to have your say in the discourse. 0907 353 0044. That is the number to call. And a second number is 0908 766 8888. And the WhatsApp portal number is 0909 705 4450. You can air your views, and be sure that as you air your views, you should be also mindful as to what you say, because we know that emotions run high, and but we should, and sentiments run deeply rather. So, but we should be able to, make our views very clear and straight to the point and address the situation at hand. We're looking at the issues that concern, the kidnappings and the ransom payments, that is almost becoming a household name in Nigeria. There is no time that, we don't hear at one point or the other about one kidnapping or the other. But the question has always been, why do we always, why are we not always proactive? Why are we mostly reactionary, when these things happen, and wait for another, happening to occur before we do something? And then certain quarters have been crying out foul. Governors at some point will come out to tell you that they're not in charge, when by law they are equipped by constitution to be in charge.
The funny thing would be, if the governors say they're not in charge, would we also have a situation, where the president who lives in the FCT would say, I'm not in charge.
Okay. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning to you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Okay, my name is Usman. I'm calling from Guarinta.
All right, Usman, welcome. Talk to us.
Yeah. Well, must say that we Nigerians, we are highly disappointed with the way things were going, especially this issue of security. And all these things that is happening, the governor say this, all this blame game between the politicians, the military, the police, and what have you. We are tired of hearing all this. Because for over years now, we keep on doing the same thing over and over again. That is why some were even, let me say, alleged that there is complicity among these security agencies and the politicians.
Right.
The governor say they are not security water. But take for instance, in terms of dealing with opposition in various states, they use the same police. And when it comes to issue of security, they will say, now issue of security, you have to, let me say, expend money to all these agencies, give them equipment, whatever, to carry out their activities of their state. Look at, for instance, when you go to various states, when they are dealing with opposition, or when they are carrying out their demolition, they bring police, they bring army to carry down their activity. When it comes to securing the people, they say they are no. So all these things, and again, this issue of why are we doing the same thing over? The army will keep on doing the same thing over and over again. And when something has happened, they will go after the same. Why not go after even before to, let me say, stop the happening of things in the first place. These criminals were in the bushes. They know where they are. Even the police, they have, let me say, equipment to track stolen phones, but they don't have that equipment to track these criminals in bushes and track them to their hideouts. So all this one we keep on in this. Let me say, we just keep on coping with this issue of insecurity. That is just it. But these politicians and the military and the police, they lost, let me say, focus. They lost control on how to deal about it. We just keep on praying that one day, hoping that one day a Messiah will come that will, let me say, give it a radical update to change, let me say, all these issues of structures on what have been to deal this issue of security squarely. Because now, which are we going to deal with? Is it the insecurity that is happening, or is it the inflation, or is it the issue of insecurity? That is why we keep on saying that they brought about this insecurity to deviate the attentions of the people.
Okay.
To deviate the attentions of the people. That is just it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
And well, we'll have to wrap it up now.
Well, that's just what it is, of course. Well, the phone lines are still buzzing, but we cannot take any more. We just want to say a big thank you.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up now.
For being with us in this conversation, and we are very, very, grateful for your thoughts, because we will not stop talking. All right, say change comes when we continue to push. So, and we will push until something happens. And we also want to tell you that we are with you, especially in these times, in these tough times that we face in our dear country. And we are very hopeful and trustful of the fact that there'll be light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely great way to end the show. There would be light at the end of the tunnel. Let's